Hey there, welcome to Stella Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. So Stella has shown a positive move this week, however, it's got rejected at the key level of 0.4141 cents. So let's see what has happened and where it's heading. So this is what I was describing earlier. So we see the wick as soon as it touches this 0.41 key level, it got rejected and staying currently at around 40 cents. So this week basically was bouncing between this yellow dash intermediate level and this key level. Not much surprising move because basically we are expecting the price to come up uh, potentially to pass through this key level. However, it still hasn't been successful yet, but this week's candle still have like another half to go, so there may still be a chance. Because the thing is, if this downward channel box is valid, then it's not a surprise for the price to come up and challenge the top edge or the ceiling before it returns and challenge the bottom or at least the center line. So there are two ways it can happen. One way is bouncing between the two edges. The other way is bouncing between one side of the edge, either the ceiling or the bottom, and then the center line. So this dashed line over here. So these are the ways that the price actions can happen in such a pattern. For now, I'm just trying to adjust this box because I see the wicks are kind of outside. I just want to adjust to make them tighter. So for now, we just have to see how the price develops, because a key time point, we can see if it breaks above this 41 cents key level and got rejected by the ceiling of the downward channel, is when it reaches closer to the third week of this month, around October 20th. That's one breakout time point over here. If it doesn't go above the light blue key level, basically it can trade sideways for probably 6 weeks, 7 weeks. When it gets to late November, there's another time point here at the end of November where a breakout could possibly happen. So that's the time point we are having within this channel. Of course, further down, when the price comes to challenge the green key level of 33 cents, there are two other time points, but it seems like we're still a bit far from that as of this moment. While I'm keeping these percentages, the possibility heading towards the sign of weakness and this second test the same, meaning the tendency heading towards a sign of weakness is higher than that heading towards the second test. You can still retain a bit of positive hope that it may come up to challenge or like above this 41 cents level, because this is like a big bull flag where a breakout can happen at the time point I mentioned and then go back to challenge a higher level. Just that whether it's going to hit the 47 cents 50, it's another question. It all depends on how the market sentiment is by then. Currently, it's still pretty, I would say, more like a roller coaster ride. Just a quick check of the Bollinger Band corner squeeze. Because of what had happened here, when the squeeze force during mid-June, basically the entire June, got released in the first week of July. Well, actually that's the second week. Then we have this massive gap between the channels, and the purple lines are still a bit far from the orange. So if it really trades sideways for another 5 to 6 weeks, that will lead the weekly time frame to form another squeeze, and when that happens, that kind of matches the time point we just talked about near the end of November. So, well, let's see whether that's going to happen in such a way. It looks like it's somebody has plans for the massive breakout near the end of November. So let's change to the daily time frame. Daily, if I turn off these drawings, it will be easier to see that we're kind of within a squeeze zone. According to the definition of the indicator, it's technically not happened yet, but for me, this is already a squeeze situation. So it may have started leaving the squeeze already. We'll wait and see whether that's the case, but like I said, if it really trades sideways, continue to this path, the squeeze will eventually become official. So before talking about the Wyckoff tags, I just want to quickly go back to these lines, because last session we did talk about the crosses of these three lines: the blue, the center line of the box, the other two are basically the support or resistance level, horizontal one, extended from the sign of weakness, and this is basically a downward trend line extending from buy climax, one of the LPSYs, and then other two LPSYs over here. We talk about basically within the first week of October, a breakout will happen, because that's where the lines were crossing each other, and indeed this happened right on the first day of October. So while the preliminary support hasn't happened yet, a sign of weakness definitely has appeared for the daily time frame distribution cycle. So would the current peak be another LPSY? We'll quickly get confirmation in the next day or two. So if the price comes back down, I'm not trying to turn this on, I'm trying to turn this line on. So if this comes down, then this will be confirmed. The volume, just a quick check. Yesterday we've got this very long candle, and the volume seems to be supporting as well. Today we're still waiting. We're just starting with just past about 5 hours, a little bit more than 5 hours, so it's still too early to tell what's going to happen, but the volume itself seems to be following. So if you multiply this by 5 times or 4 times, this is definitely going to be higher than what we had yesterday. So if the remaining 18 hours 40 minutes is going to continue with the same volume, eventually today's candlestick, or the volume bar at least, will surpass what we have yesterday. But then this resistance from the key level is basically showing the bulls and the bears are fighting at this level, and it's pretty, or selling pretty hard at that level. I'm just checking, maybe because of previous rebounds where people got in and then the price already started to decline. That's why there's some people sitting with their stock, and now the price has got to close enough where they bought in. That's why they're selling, because they're probably seeing this downtrend as well. Not too deep of a decline, or even it has stayed flat this time for the two sign of weaknesses. If I move the text a bit lower and just to do a quick check, it seems like it's stabilizing within this downward channel, and there may be a chance that it's going to break outside of this channel. If that's the case, if they are still staying above this line, so just keeping this here. In case it comes down, retest this level and then stays above this level again, that may be a sign that a rebound or a rebound towards a higher level may happen. So that's the daily chart, what is telling us. But basically we're expecting, so this trend line can be taken away because the breakout has already happened. Basically we're waiting for it to come to test the ceiling. It doesn't always have to go through this key level. It can edges along and touches it and then bounce back to the center line and do this, or if it doesn't, it can go down towards the bottom edge of the channel box. It's interesting because if the price really stays above this white line that we've just drawn, the tendency of going towards the preliminary support would be lower. So instead of 70%, I'll say it's now 50-50, just because of what happened over here. This flattened bottom instead of like the downtrend we had earlier. Let's quickly check if I have missed anything, because I'm trying to see whether this would be a buy, like a selling climax right over here, and then automatic rally and a second test, because the price can accumulate at a higher level. It doesn't have to go back down to somewhere around here like this. If this is really a selling climax and automatic rally back to a second test and then a sign of strength, that's where it's going to head to another distribution cycle. Okay, if this is really a possibility, why not we add some text over here? Maybe not retyping, we can just copy and move them across, but instead of red, let's set another color. Let's use purple. This is a hypothetical, another possibility that an accumulation cycle is happening at this current level. So instead of an extended distribution, it might have come down and started accumulating. Just my eyes are telling me this may be the case, because daily chart is really tricky if we want to put in the Wyckoff analysis. I'm thinking if this is really going to happen, to hit back to the blue key level, then it would match what we are putting in here. Just thinking out loud to see or to cross-check whether that's potentially the case. I have to flip back and forth just to make sure. It doesn't have to be an accumulation here. This still works if it's still within the distribution. I'm just challenging my thinking to see whether that's possible, because it does look like an accumulation. Okay, I think that's good enough. We'll keep that over there and see how it eventually evolves. But basically, expectation is some sideways trading. It can like happen as extend to all the way to the end of November. So basically these 2 months can still be within the range, somewhere around mid 30 cents to like low 40 cents. If a breakout really happens towards the upside, that's when there's a chance for it to retest the blue key level. However, this is still a downtrend, so as long as it doesn't break out, there's still a likelihood that it's going to bounce between the ceiling and the bottom of this channel box, and that's when even the weekly time frame is going to re-enter potentially a new accumulation cycle. So if this heads all the way to below the orange key level of 20 cents, that's when it's going to happen. I'm just trying to check this as well. Okay, yeah, this is a weird situation. So if we compare to what happened back in 2021, this looks a bit similar. So after the climb all the way to here, it got a sharp drop and then recovered. So it climbed, sharp drop, and then recovered, and this time it's getting sideways at a lower point. Last time it's kind of doing this. It got a dip, but then it bounces up to where the level it was like in the early LPSY. This time it doesn't bounce up that high, and then subsequently it drops to the accumulation level. If this happens the same way, we are pretty close to see the final leg happening. And last time this channel, if I just borrow this and move this across, this channel over here, leading all the way to the selling climax. It's basically from August all the way to June, almost an entire year, is within the downward channel back then. Now we've just started, and we're just only about 3 months in. So if this can last in a year, we probably have another 9 months if it really repeats what happened back in 2021 and 22. For the bearish people in the community, is bad news for you, but if it's really near the end of the distribution cycle, that's where it's going to head to. For the bearish people, just be careful. All those little bumps, like that's going to happen along this downtrend, because if that happens, you rather have your stop loss ready, because especially if you are trading on leverage, you don't want to like set a position and then being slaughtered by these kind of fake bulls, or basically they're trying to clean up the positions before they actually pushes the price further down. So that's how cruel the investment world is, right? The trading world is. So thanks for joining me. See you in the next session.